Mr Drake. Mr Drake joined the Boys High School teaching staff on the 1st of February 1986 as a social studies and geography teacher. His ability as a teacher and leader was recognised immediately, and he was appointed to the position of Assistant Third Form Dean in 1987 and then Third Form Dean in 1988. Alongside these pastoral roles, he also had responsibilities within the Social Sciences Department for Social Studies. Mr Drake's extensive subject expertise and passion for his teaching saw him earn the position of Head of Social Sciences in September 1995, a position, of course, that he holds to this day. As Head of Social Sciences, Mr Drake has been responsible for leading one of the largest curriculum areas in the school, both in terms of student and staff numbers. While his overall social sciences knowledge is particularly extensive, it is Mr Drake's passion for geography that is more noteworthy. He has been responsible for developing teaching and learning programs, creating departmental resources, as well as mentoring a significant number of beginning and experienced teachers during his career. The current curriculum refresh, for want of a better term, and change to assessment practices that is being worked through by all New Zealand secondary schools will be the fourth time that Mr Drake has had a key leadership role in significant change. It's testament to Mr Drake's passion and professionalism that he has approached this change at the very twilight, one could say, of his teaching career with as much vigour as he has at any other time. Indeed, he has taken a proactive leadership role to ensure that geography teachers throughout the local region are appropriately supported. Mr Drake has led the Manawatu Geography Teachers Association for many years, and in this role he has contributed to the teaching of geography at schools all across the Lower North Island. His expertise has also been recognised at a national level, where he has been responsible for writing scholarship examinations as well as leading external marking panels. Mr Drake recognises the importance of fieldwork in bringing the subject to life and helping students to see the bigger picture and the relevance of their studies. Consequently, opportunities to undertake practical work in a range of different settings have been key parts of the geography program at all levels. The annual Year 13 mountain trip to Mount Ruapehu developed from the annual geography field trip into that environment, and thousands of young men have had the opportunity to study the effects of volcanism firsthand under Mr Drake's tutelage. Mr Drake has travelled extensively across the globe and has been able to bring these experiences into his classroom. In the late 1990s, he was the recipient of a scholarship that enabled him to crew for Mr Nigel Jolly on a search for giant squid off the southern coast of the South Island. Although unsuccessful, this was another experience that he was able to incorporate into his teaching. In 2001, Mr Drake was awarded a Japan Foundation High School Educators Program Scholarship, which enabled him to spend 15 days in Japan, further experiences that he was able to bring back with him to Boys High. In more recent years, Mr Drake has been part of the Renaissance tours to Croatia and Italy, where his extensive geography knowledge and travel experience have enabled him to contribute to a once-in-a-lifetime experience for those young men lucky enough to be involved on those tours. Mr Drake has played a significant role in the Shad Shield competition as well. He served as the club master for Gordon for 17 years, from 1991 to 2008, and after stepping down from this role has remained an enthusiastic supporter of the Gordon Club and has been fully involved in the Shad Shield competition. It was very fitting that the Gordon Club performed the school haka to Mr Drake during the recent club haka competition. Mr Drake is very aware of the importance of the school's co-curricular program, and he's had significant involvement in that program. For many years he held the position of teacher in charge of rugby, a significant role in the school in which he oversaw all aspects of organisation of that sport. He also coached a wide range of teams from the third 15 to the midweek under 55 kilogram competition. He's also been involved as a football, squash and tennis team manager and a Cape League cricket coach. As you can imagine, Mr Drake's also passionate about the outdoors and has been involved with our outdoor education program throughout his time here. As well as having a key role in that Year 13 mountain trip, he's also been involved with the annual Year 10 camp program throughout his time here, and for many years took groups to Lake Wakaramoana for a truly unique experience. We thank Mr Drake for his very significant service to our school. Thousands of young men have benefited from his expertise and dedication in the classroom and in sporting and outdoor education opportunities outside of the class. Mr. Drake is beginning a very well-deserved retirement and is relocating to Taupo, where I'm sure he looks forward to spending time with Mr. Tati. We wish him all the very best for his retirement and the opportunity to spend more time with his family, as well as continuing to indulge his passion for the outdoors. Gentlemen, I'd now like to invite Mr. Drake to the lectern this morning. Mr. Drake.
Took most of our speech there, Mr. David. Josiah Chapman, stand. Valentino Cantona, stand. Not here. Toby Lamberton, stand. Tom Denton, stand. Levi Billington, stand. Good to see you here, Levi. Mario Huff, stand. Raymond Carini, stand. Both not here. You boys failed to turn up to your school detention Friday afternoon. That's all right, boys. You have an appointment in the library foyer for weekly calisthenics after assembly. If you don't know what calisthenics are, ask your English teacher. Of course, calisthenics means exercise, which meant the cane. Sit down, boys, and relax. That's how I remember Senior Master and character Errol Brookie, who a few will know in the hall, at the end of Monday morning, same as this one, same Monday morning assemblies, back in the day, as you guys would say. The last two names I called were past students. They're not here now, but who regularly attended Monday calisthenics. And needless to say, Mr. Brookie kept calling such names long after the boys had left. That was how it was in 1986 when I began teaching here nearly 37 years ago. Unbelievable, really. Well over half my life. Doesn't seem that long. Of the present staff, only Mr. Lowe has been here longer than I have. 34 mountain trips, 27 years as head of department, 18 years club master, 10 years teacher in charge of geography, 3 years as a dean, many rugby, cricket, tennis, squash teams, and about 4,000 students taught. I came here as a young teacher. I'd been travelling for 2 years and taught at what you guys would call a rich school in England. The roll here was about 1,200. It's about 1,750 now. It's 1,200, so quite a lot less. In many ways, though, it was the same. In many ways, different. It was the same in that the traditions were the same. School daily routine, although we had 2-1-2 periods in those days, not 2-2-1, and 3-term years, not 4. So we were teaching for 12 or 13 week terms rather than the 10-week terms we have now. Form period, assembly, 5 1-hour periods, uniform basically the same, Anzac service, prize giving, Shan Shield, road race, athletics day, marching, and haircuts, the same. Staff coached and managed sports teams, of course. But it was different too. Some buildings were different. There was no new gym. And no indoor swimming pool, just a field out there, and what we call the fives courts. You guys probably don't know what fives is, but like squash, you play with your hand in a little old wall. An outside swimming pool where this tuck shop now stands. No spears centre. School music productions were held here in the hall. A much smaller tuck shop is where the Dean's offices are now. No new tech block. The old one was where C8 to C11 are now. The art block was in prefabs, which are the relocated G1 to G3 rooms now. No cricket nets at the back. The artificial cricket wickets on the field were just newly in. due to the fundraising efforts of staff members and cricketers, Mr. Layton, the old one, who happens to be here today, and former Head of Geography and Deputy Rector, Mr. Alec Astle. These allowed more students to play cricket on Saturdays due to the lack of grounds in town, and they didn't cost the school a bean. Those two gentlemen raised all the money. The staff room was about a third of its present size. The office admin area and rector's office was much smaller. The finance office didn't exist. There was no mezzanine floor up there, as the school could fit quite easily into the hall then. No whiteboards in classes, no computers and data projectors, mostly something called chalk and a blackboard, and something called an overhead projector. A bit later, that was really modern. So when us in the geography department got overhead projectors, we thought we were really made. There were far less subjects to choose from. There was no business studies, classics, ICT, media studies, electronics, digital technology, construction, and I'm sure I've forgotten some, and no Barraclough program. Of course, the staff members were different. Mr. Lowe and Mr. Adams were the only other teachers still here who were here when I started. Mr. White was the rector. Some of the present staff here were students that I taught. Mr. Alex James, Mr. Cudby, Mr. Noama Barnett, Mr. Bovey was a young student teacher under my tutelage on a teaching section. Along with the then Mr. Sims, I employed Mr. Atkin and Mr. Joe Smith, who went on to become All Black coach. Mr. Redemeyer started in Year 9, third form as it was called then, the same year I started teaching here. And I remember him as head prefect and captain of the first 11 cricket. The first time the Gillette Cup national competition was held. That team won that first Gillette Cup, the national title. Mr. Leighton Jr. I remember also as a very talented opening batsman, and Mr. Hodge, along with his many brothers, a footballer of note. Mr. Ruawai, many of you will know as principal from Pinnins, was the deputy head boy when I first started here. That makes me pretty old, doesn't it? The cane's no longer used, thank goodness. There is no accelerate program. That was brought in by Mr. Sims, the new rector who came from Auckland Grammar, where it was their system in my second year here. There was no Massey University study. This came in with rector, Mr. O'Connor, in about 2004. There was no NCEA and no internal assessment in most subjects. The external exam counted for everything, which certainly meant students concentrated when revising at this time of the year. They knew that a fail in their external exams would mean that they would repeat the year with the year group behind them the following year. Now that was motivation to work hard to pass your exams. There were far less sports available for students to play. In winter it was rugby, hockey, football, maybe volleyball I think. In summer it was basically cricket and tennis. Boxing of course occurred, one of the oldest sports offered here. There was no basketball, cycling, touch, squash, badminton, table tennis, squash, orienteering, canoe polo, water polo, choirs, mountain biking, cycling, VEX robotics, snow seekers, squash, haka, and no school haka. There were no Year 10 camps, but I was involved quite closely in getting the outdoor education and school camp program started here. In my second year here, I remember the camp program was only 3 selected Year 10 classes biking on the road out to a staff member's farm in the hills about 20 k's away and making their own bivouacs to sleep in for 3 days with varying success. The camp program now is among the best in the country, probably I'd say if not the best in the country in terms of numbers and what's offered. This is mostly because staff here are willing to give up their time away from their families for a week to give you guys important learning experiences in the outdoors. Mr. Miller works incredibly hard to make these camps a reality for all of you. Shan Shield events are quite different. I was 18 years clubmaster for Gordon. Needless to say, in that time we never won the Shan Shield. Usually second or third though, to usually Murray or Albion. Kiora was usually at the bottom in my earlier years here. There was no winter tournament. The Shandshield winter sports were played after school at different times. Winter Sports Day came about after the club masters had a meeting because we couldn't get full teams after school. And the same students also were playing in everything. The present Winter Sports Day is much better as it involves many more students who are all available to play. In short, I've seen a huge growth in the opportunities on offer to you, all taken by school staff. Quite phenomenal, really. The students were the same as you in personality. Human nature doesn't really change. They, like you, were always pleasant to talk to, get to know. I think that's the thing mostly that's kept me here so long, is the students. They were not more or less intelligent before. They were mostly involved and appreciated the staff involvement in their education and in co-curricular activities. I would say, though, that they were a bit more reliable. They always turned up to team meetings on Fridays at interval and were never without a pen in class. That's also unbelievable. We didn't have the multicultural school we have now. Perhaps only 25 students in the whole school from nationalities apart from New Zealand, European and Māori. We now have at least 50 different nationalities here. That's amazing. I taught the fathers of many of you sitting here. Take note: William Revell, Sam Milletta, Liam Nielsen, Jamie Bennett, James Bayliss, Reese Mitchell, Diego Rossin, many others I can't name. Some memories, there are hundreds, but some particularly come to mind. Throwing a blackboard duster at a student talking at the back of the classroom, meaning to hit the wall above him, only to hit him square on the neck. The unbeaten fourth grade red rugby team, they were weight grades in those days. I coached my first year here. The year my fourth 15 beat the third 15, not once but twice in an unbeaten season. Of course, the mountain trips, and particularly the ascents of Mount Ngauahoi, which are now not allowed on the mountain trip because it's too dangerous. The day I refereed the Junior Watergrave Club final between Kiora and Murray, when I miscalculated the time, this is the final, by finishing 10 minutes early, when Murray were ahead by only 3 points. Kiora Clubmaster Stu Leighton was not very happy, and the Murray housemaster said he would put a portrait of me up in the college house dining room. Never happened, but Murray went on to win because I miscalculated the time. The day my second son was born was a real memory, before the days of cell phones. My rugby practice at Coronation Park had to finish early with the sight of my very pregnant wife running across Coronation Park, and friend and fellow teacher Mark Easton yelling out to me from the next door field that Barb was carving. And I'd better get to her and me to the hospital as soon as possible. All the boys in my team broke out in spontaneous applause. Needless to say, Hamish, who came here, was born only 30 minutes later. Ross Taylor and Jacob Oram regularly smashing a cricket ball onto the roofs of A and B Block College House. The devastating midfield pairing of Nani Lamapi and Jason Emery carving up on every first 15 match. The great times with staff, and there were too many to tell, in the geography and the social studies department. The Year 10 camp tramping trips around Lake Waikaremoana, seeing the students overcome the physical challenge and grow in confidence. And then in later years come back and see me to tell me they had taken their friends and families, all families, back to do the trip. The musical talent on display in the school concerts and production never ceases to amaze me. Unbelievable musical talent. If you haven't been to the concert, boys, you've got to make sure that you go in your time here. It is amazing. The occasional times I had the pleasure of being able to sing in school concerts with Mr. Young and Mr. Dredge. The 2 times we achieved a top scholar in the country in geography, with the resultant trips to Government House to meet the Governor General. The Renaissance trips. We've got another one coming up in a couple of years, memorable. And always the pleasure of seeing the students who struggled in year 9 but progressed through to year 13 to achieve level 3. Some final messages. I'm not going to preach to you guys, not appropriate, but there are a few little messages I want to give to you. To those students among you who are good sportsmen but who are a pain in class, don't apply yourself and make it hard for yourselves and others to learn and the teacher to teach. Think. The only reason you have the sporting opportunities is because staff here give up their free time and unpaid for you at practices, Saturdays, tournaments, away from their families, no extra pay, to give you the opportunity to use and display your significant sporting talent. You've been given the sporting opportunity because of them. It is therefore your responsibility to give back to them by making it easy for them to teach you and the class, and more importantly for you to learn. Remember, a minuscule number of students make a living out of playing sport. You hear about the one who does, not the other 800 who don't. You need your classroom education to give yourself career and life opportunities. If you don't take the opportunity to learn now, you will limit yourself for life, and you will regret it when you are an adult. And what opportunities you have here for free. The same education and opportunities you get here would cost you $40,000 per year in most other countries. I know, I've taught in a school in England where this was the cost. But the educational opportunities offered were the same as at this school. Appreciate your teachers. You have some very good ones. Thank them. Don't waste their time by not really trying or mucking them around in class. Life is getting harder out there. Make it easy for yourself by doing your work. It's not hard. Get your sports team or music group together at the end of the season and collect some money to buy your teacher, coach a small gift. Appreciate them. This used to happen. Be kind to your fellow students and think about your basic manners. Pleases and thank yous go a long way. After asking a teacher a question, look at them and listen when they reply. Turn up to meetings when they are called in notices. If you can't turn up to a meeting or your game, let the teacher know why beforehand. Believe me, these things will make your life easier in and out of the workplace, and people will be impressed. They will notice. When you're job hunting, everyone applying for the job you want will have similar qualifications. It's your manners that will count. The employer will give you the opportunity, will give you the job. Lastly, as my classes always hear me say on a Friday afternoon as they leave, have a good weekend. Best of luck in the future, everybody, but stay away from motorbikes.